There, now you can hear me. Start my own damn show muted. How's that for good? Morning, everybody. It is Monday, the 25th of January. It's 9 a.m. And we have had quite a fun evening and morning. Big announcements today. And we are going to start with those. Thank you, Clock, for showing the right time and words. It's always nice when that happens. How is everybody out there? Let's see what we got going on in chat and make sure that audio is good. Yes, my audio is good. That's muted opening. Thank you, Janine. I saw, before I forget, Bad Time Lady, I saw you post something earlier that was really important, and now I have no idea what it was, but it was really important. I hope you can post it again and remind me, because I was actually going to mention it. But yeah, hello Kathy E, and hello Steph, and Ed, and Bad Wolf, and Ski Vermont, and Ed Williams, PMP Railroad, and Nico. Wow, we got everybody here. This is great. Simcat, good to see you guys. What's going on? Well, a lot of big news. Bernie Sanders, who MSM has continued to report that he has no support amongst minorities, that he has no support in the South, no support in other states. They keep saying he has no support because they keep not looking on the streets where all the support is and the thousands of people standing up for Bernie Sanders. But the big news today is that Jamie Bamberg, State Rep, South Carolina, that would be South Carolina for all of those MSM people that are not familiar with the South and the state and people down there endorsing Bernie. So he is the lawyer for the Scott Walker family, and he switches sides to endorse Bernie Sanders. And that's pretty big, and honestly, you know, if you're not familiar with the Scott Walker case, Lou, how you doing this morning? Good morning, Lou.
Good morning, John. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm going to let Lou take it over and just give everybody a reminder of what the Scott Walker case was.
Well, yeah, let's call it what it is. Walter Scott was a man
Sorry, my bad. It's Walter Scott. I'm so bad. I'm reading the name backwards. Yes, I have dyslexia, folks. Take it over, Lou.
Oh, it's not a problem, John. Walter Scott was a African-American man who unfortunately this last summer was shot and killed by a police officer for the simple act of running away. At the time, Michael Schleger, who was the police officer, has now been indicted. But the video of the shooting of this man running and the police officer shooting him and then walking up and dropping a taser went viral all over the world. The representative for the Scott family is State Rep Justin Bamberg of South Carolina, and he initially had been a Hillary Clinton supporter. But much like the firewall is starting to show cracks, Mr. Bamberg is starting to feel the burn. And he announced this morning that he has switched sides, much like Nina Turner did. And as part of his endorsement letter, he wrote that Hillary Clinton, and I quote, Hillary Clinton is more a representation of the status quo when I think about politics or about what it means to be a Democrat. Where on the other hand, Bernie Sanders is bold. He doesn't think like everyone else, and he is not afraid to call things as they are. Now, Mr. Bamberg, as I said, represents Mr. Scott's 4 children, 2 brothers, his mother, his father. So he's an outspoken critic about racial injustices and injustices in our criminal system. And he today has decided to feel the burn. And we're announcing it first here before mainstream media gets to it. It adds to the fact of looking at this quote-unquote firewall. When you see somebody like Justin Bamberg of South Carolina switch sides, when you see Lisa Flores from Nevada come out and say, we used to live in a country where the American dream was attainable for most. We used to live in a country where you could make it if you tried, where upward mobility was a tangible thing and where education was the key to success. But that's not the America we live anymore. And I believe that Bernie Sanders wakes up every day with these things on his mind. So we have examples of that quote-unquote minority firewall breaking down in front of our very own eyes. Back to you, John.
Awesome. Thank you, Lou. Thank you for keeping me informed when I don't have time to read all of this detailed information. And you mentioned the firewall, which is perfect. Just another quote out of that, and I think this is from Simone Sanders. The Clinton campaign talks about having this firewall in the South, Ms. Sanders says. You are starting to see cracks in that firewall. And I don't think we're just talking cracks here. I think the lie that MSM is perpetuating is going to crumble here really, really fast. There is no firewall, folks. Hillary does not have the support of the people. She has the support of paycheck voters. She has the support of the uninformed and the indoctrinated, which are falling off by the wayside as we educate the public on the lies of the Clinton campaign, the lies of the establishment versus the people with Bernie Sanders. And Janine, you were the one who mentioned this poll.
Yeah, I wanted to add to that too. There's a lot of people who just don't know about Bernie in
Right.
South Carolina. And I think, as his name recognition and people learn about Bernie, the more his support is growing. And actually, if you want to put that graphic back up,
Got it.
this is from Huffington Post, the pollster, and it shows, if you look at that, the top line there is Hillary Clinton, and the bottom is Bernie, the one in teal, and you could see that upswing for Bernie, and it's really been starting to gain a lot of traction. If you look at the CBS YouGov polls back in November, Clinton was ahead 72 to 25. In December, it went down to 67 to 31, and now it's at 60 to 38. So, just within a couple of months, it looks like Bernie has gained 13 points and Hillary has lost 12. So it's a big swing. Nobody's talking about it, and I believe that just like every other state, this trend is going to continue, and Bernie will eventually win the South in South Carolina.
And Janine, if you don't, I'm sorry for jumping in, but that's exactly what Mr. Bamberg said. Is when he first endorsed Clinton, he did not know much about Mr. Sanders, and he specifically wanted to note that he didn't think he gave Senator Sanders a fair shake. But once he eventually started listening to it, and he spoke with him, and he saw the ideas he got from him, and I quote, "What I got from him was not a presidential candidate talking to a state representative, or an old white man talking to a young black guy. What I got from Bernie Sanders was a man talking to a man about things that they are passionate about, not just platitudes." And that was the tipping point for Mr. Bamberg in switching over and joining the Bern team.
Nice.
Yeah. Thank you for quoting that, Lou. I've been looking for that. I've been wanting to put that up there. Thank you. Yeah, his statement is great. I think it really simplified. Sanders is a human being who speaks with depth and speaks with passion, and we believe what he has to say. We believe in his conviction. I don't get that from Hillary. It's an establishment speech, and you hear that whenever she talks. And we've got a meme. I don't think I loaded it in, but I just want to remind everybody, where are the marches for Hillary? I saw that meme going around the other day. How many marches around the nation have we had for Hillary so far? How many national events have we had for Hillary so far? How many rallies full of thousands of people have we had for Hillary so far? I know what it was, Bad Time Lady. This is or Bad Wolf Time Lady. This is exactly what we're talking about. Yeah, I just see you mentioning that. I figure out what it was. Earlier you said, and I want to see an article or something. I want to make sure we got these numbers correct or where this came from. You said that that Bernie Sanders was at a rally last night with 2,000 people at that rally in a town that had 8,000 people in town.
Yeah, that's accurate.
That's the kind, their support, folks. You think all those support are rich white people? I don't think so. So we're going to I want to just look at this other poll here. This is the CBS poll that came out yesterday, and it's got Sanders edging ahead of Clinton in Iowa, and we knew that. As of yesterday, it shows the massive lead that Sanders has in New Hampshire, and I'm not even sure this information is correct anymore. This is South Carolina, 60 to 38. But that number has come up, as we have seen from this graph, right? That number is just look at Bernie's path. Look at Bernie's path, and you look at Hillary's path. And I think Janine, you were the one who pointed this out. The dip and rise again in Hillary's path is when Joe Biden,
yeah,
was dropped.
Yeah, And
drop?
Joe Biden had a lot of support in South Carolina. And again, Hillary had the name recognition to capture the bounce after the fact. So.
Right. This is.
By the way, I dropped the link to that U.S. Uncut story about the rally last night in Decorah.
I saw that. We will open that up and look at it. I want to, while you guys are staring at that, what does everybody think of that? I'm just going to look at the chat comments right here. How's everybody doing? The town you live in is 8K? Interesting. Hi, everybody. All right. Let me get it back to my rundown. I lost my place here. There's a lot of stuff we got to talk about today. There's a lot of things going on. And so we just talked about Justin Bamberg and what he had to say, and we looked at the charts. And there's another endorsement, and that is on. We're gonna cover all the endorsements really quick, just because it's important. I was actually going to open talking about the climate, because we can't forget that our planet is dying. But this is another endorsement, and I copied this and dropped this in yesterday. I pushed this out on Twitter. By the way, you guys are rocking the Twitter with us. Thank you so much. We almost 100,000 impressions on the 24th, and we are rocking it. So thank you for doing that. Social media is our primary weapon against the establishment, because our goal, folks, is to inform the electorate and to dispel the bullshit, the lies of the establishment. And the way we do this is by promoting the truth across all social channels and everywhere we can. They own their broadcast channels. There's nothing we can do about that. We own the web. We own the web, and they know that. There's nothing they can do to compete with what we got going on here outside of purchasing impressions. So just remember that we are the ones in power. So this is the Daily Non-Pareil, and they have this nice quote here. They endorse Sanders. They're the second big paper in Iowa. Is that correct, Lou? Is that what you were telling me earlier?
Yes, the Daily Non-Pareil is one of the two largest papers in Iowa. They're based out of Council Bluffs, where Bernie Sanders has had two rallies that both had over 2,000. I think one had 2,100 and one had 5,000 almost at it in Council Bluffs. In contrast, the other candidate, who is paying a super PAC social media team, came to Omaha, Nebraska, and couldn't get 500 people there. And that's a 5-minute drive, literally, between Council Bluffs and Omaha. Look at the stark numbers.
There you go, folks. That's the reality of it right here. But I want to read this quote from them. But Sanders offers caucus goers a spark of hope and change, of the hope and change mantra, translated into the language of economics, touching on the centrality of worries stemming from the Great Recession and the failure to hold those who hurt so many accountable. And what they are talking about is our government, folks. Our government has to hold itself accountable. We need to hold the government accountable. Those are the people that have hurt so many. And we're gonna talk more about that after we get through all of these endorsements coming in for Bernie Sanders. There's another one that happened that I wouldn't call it an endorsement, but it was definitely a statement by somebody who we do remember used to be involved in politics, and that's Anthony Weiner. Remember Anthony Weiner, who rose to fame with dick pics, and you couldn't get a better scenario for comedians around the world there. Politician, last name Weiner, busted for dick pics. It just doesn't get any better for that. But interestingly enough, his wife works on the Clinton campaign, and he made a statement the other day saying that he wouldn't be surprised if Bernie swept the first four. Right? So just gives you an interesting idea where things are at. Really, really does. Let's look at this timeline real quick. Make sure I'm not going off the rails. Good. We're right there. So tonight, we're talking about things we got going on. We just talked about endorsements. We just talked about where Sanders is ahead. And now we're going to talk about tonight a little bit. Go back to this slide deck. And we're going to look at this, folks. Actually, I have it right here. We will be at this, whatever they're calling this thing. Where'd it go?
Forum.
The forum. Yeah, they're calling it a forum. Here.
Well, they have to call it a forum
because
because
3 days.
They can't call it a debate because, well, all the candidates won't be on the stage together again.
Right.
And it's because of the way that Hillary and Debbie Wasserman Schultz were trying to limit the number of debates. They can't go and add one now, because it would look really bad.
Right.
Even
Right.
though, because Hillary is losing ground, they would love to get her on stage more, so they created this one.
Right. Right. So I find this. So this is the coolest thing. The Hillary campaign, or the DNC, there's no difference, wants to give Hillary more airtime, I think. Is that what you're telling me, Janine?
Yeah,
They
well,
think this would be helpful?
the thing is, the debates they actually hurt the front runner because it gives a chance for the other candidates to get some visibility and to
Right.
get their message out there. So
Right.
the whole plan back, in the middle of last year was limit the number of debates, limit the chances of Bernie and even Martin O'Malley, for that matter, getting their message out.
Yep.
So by limiting the number of debates, it's an advantage for Hillary Clinton. Unfortunately, since the tide is turning and Bernie is really the front runner, it's helping Bernie. So
Exactly.
yeah. So in order to combat this, that's why they create these additional events.
Right. But so this is, whether if you're a Hillary supporter or if you're on the Hillary team and you actually think this forum tonight is going to be beneficial for Hillary, you're wrong. And you have every single televised event where Bernie has been put on stage against her, he wipes the floor with her, because the truth is pretty easy to defend. That's what this comes down to, folks. Bernie defends his record. It's the truth. She can lie about it, she can misrepresent it, and mainstream media can take her misrepresentation and run with it to fool the American people, but the truth still remains hard and fast right in front of their faces. There's nothing they can do about that. The truth hasn't changed, right? So it's not going to change tonight. None of the facts are going to be different. She doesn't have any zingers she's going to throw out there. Oh, look, we discovered that Bernie really has been taking money from the NRA for decades. No, none of that shit exists. But what continues to happen with Hillary is we keep finding more and more things. We keep digging up things. Hey, remember this? And we'll talk about that as we get into the reparations piece. We're not to reparations yet, but that's important to note that. That's where she stands. This is a good place to drop this out, guys. You don't get stuff like this happening either. Okay. Mary Alice Parks works for ABC, and I had really thought at one point that it was going to be cool that she was interested in. I actually thought, oh, yikes! Just lost one of my cameras. One moment, guys.
Well, he's
No, I got it. There's nothing for you. Hang on. Got it. We're good. Just give me a second. Don't start talking. I gotta get this set here. Okay. Welcome to live broadcast. Let's continue talking about Mary Alice Parks. Bernie just threw his jacket into the crowd, into the arms of a screaming teenage fan, like it was a guitar pick. No joke. I don't know where this was or when this happened, but Mary Alice Parks has been following Bernie Sanders. She actually
This was the Cedar Falls, I think.
Is that where it was?
Yeah. I actually saw somebody else say there was somebody tweeted that's all that's coming off, folks, or something like that. So I don't know if he said that after the fact or not, but.
Well, I loved this response via friend of Trees and D Porter. I don't know who made this. If D Porter made this is great, but Bernie Sanders is definition of badass. And I say that all the time. Bernie is a badass, and so are the 99. We are all badasses here. We know what we're doing, but I just love that. I just love that right there. That's a wonderful thing. Where are we at here? Right. So we're gonna go from that, and tonight I forgot to tell you guys we are gonna be speaking with Dr. Franz Whitfield. That's where I wanted to go with this. Boom. Everybody know who Dr. Franz Whitfield is? He is in Iowa, Waterloo. And he is a surrogate for the Sanders campaign. A surrogate means that he is now paid by the campaign, and he travels around and basically preaches the good word for Bernie. And we've had him on before. He's a great guy, very impassionate speaker. He can sing, and we've had that on before. But Bernie was at his church did an incredible speech there. Again, I'm just going to ask, hey, Hillary supporters, how many churches has Hillary gone to and spoken at? How many events regarding cultural diversity has Hillary gone and spoken to? How many of these things? Where are the marches in the streets for Hillary Clinton? Where are the big masses of black supporters, African American supporters? Where are they? There's no. You keep MSM is going to keep saying he has no support, but we know the truth. So Dr. Franz Whitfield will be joining us tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern. That's our pre-show for the forum. And then we'll go dark during the forum and be overlaying our quotes and statements from you guys and having our chat while we can't show you the actual forum because we don't own that piece of political content. Rights ownership is being claimed by CNN for this, graciously making sure that they can make all the money off of it they can, because that's the goal there, is to make sure they profit off the American people anytime they can. That is the goal, at the expense of your democracy, folks.
Hey, John,
Yes.
Joe Ford in the chat shared the link to the video of Bernie with his jacket. You gotta play that if you can. It's
Okay.
awesome.
Yeah, let me, can
I
you
dropped
drop
it for you. Yeah.
Sweet. Okay, we
So
will.
thank you for doing that, Joe.
Yes.
I think everyone deserves to see this because
Okay, so I'm going to leave you with looking at this for a second while I pull that up. Let me grab this, guys, because that'll be awesome for all of us to watch.
it needs to go down in history. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, yeah. Is it in? Hang on a second. It's in live production.
Yeah.
What? Oh, shoot! Now you're looking at me go through live production. That's terrible. Here, sorry guys. Getting hard for me to manage all this stuff at the same time. Let me pull this up here. Yep, this is it. Okay, I got it loaded. We'll run that in a second. Although it is abcnews.com, Janine.
It's just it's like 2 seconds. So
Okay, or 20 seconds. We can run that and get away with it. Okay. Here, let's just cut to it since we talked about it. Let's run it now. Here we go.
That was very dramatic. That's all I'm telling you.
Yeah, you can cut it there, but that's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, really.
Who does that? What
No.
politician does that?
Not
He's not a politician.
Exactly.
right. He's not a politician. He's not a politician. That's not what he is about. He's not a politician. So you guys, in like, I don't know, a very short period of time, Barb Hammer put this up, stop shutting us down, YouTube. We're almost at 1,500 signatures. You can reach this at, let's put it up right down here. There it is. MoveOn.org petition, guys, is free.bernie2016.tv. Please sign this. I don't know how many signatures it's going to take to get YouTube to pay attention to us, to get them to show some integrity as an organization, to get them to recognize that they're being evil right now. Okay? You're in the middle of a political revolution. YouTube, you are actively oppressing the people. You are suppressing political speech. You are doing it on behalf of the establishment. We, the people, demand that you stop. It is against the First Amendment. I don't give a shit what you read into the 1996 Telecommunications Act. I don't give a shit what you do with your corporate greedy folk behind counters. But you will not keep us from broadcasting political speech. You will not keep us down. You shut down Channel 4 with no explanation whatsoever. You lack the integrity to talk to us at all. 1,500 signatures. I don't know how many it's going to take, but we're going to keep blasting it, YouTube. We're going to keep pushing it out on social. We're going to make sure people understand that you are part of the establishment. You are part of the problem, which goes directly against your statement, don't be evil. I realize that's your parent company, Google, and maybe you guys are separate, and maybe YouTube is allowed to be evil. I don't know. But it sure seems incongruent. It sure seems dishonest. It sure doesn't seem like you are for the people, YouTube. And you sure take a lot from us, don't you? You data mine us every day. You get everything you need out of us in terms of information to build your mass. Now it's time for you to show some integrity as an organization. Are you with the people, or are you with the establishment? You pick. You pick. That's what I want to know. Please sign that. Please help it. free.bernie2016.tv. That's how you can do that.
I'm
Now
here.
we're going to move into... Yeah? Yes? Who?
Oh, I thought
Nope.
you were. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
No. I'm going too fast. I'm all riled up. Gotta chill.
No, I just wanted to say thanks again to everyone who's been there supporting us and all those people that signed for this. I think it's awesome
Yeah.
that you guys are all doing this and trying to help us because, it hurts us pretty bad. Not just in terms of losing our content and stuff like that, but it really hurts us in terms of all the work, all the hours that all of the volunteers have put into all of the shows, and to have that just get taken down it hurts.
This last one crushed me. We worked really hard at making sure Channel 4 was clean. We wanted to play by the rules as much as possible, and we weren't using any MSM content, and we were shut down for Terms of Service 4, Section H, folks, which is basically their blanket. We don't have to give you a real reason. We're just going to shut you down. And it's wrong, and the history will record that YouTube was on the wrong side here. Okay, it's no different than the Vatican storing gold for the Nazis. You are burning books, YouTube. You wiped out a channel that had content that belonged to the people. It was a record of Bernie Sanders, a record that is unique. Every time we do a broadcast and a rally, it's unique. That's why we do it the way we do it, because we overlay all of your statements that we can, all of the comments and statements from the public. That's a record. That's a beautiful public record right there, frozen in that moment of time of what somebody thinks while Bernie Sanders is speaking. Imagine if we'd had those kind of records back when FDR was giving speeches or during his fireside chats. What we do, what we provide here with our method of engagement broadcasting is a fireside chat for Bernie Sanders that should be provided for him by MSM that just isn't. And we do it because we love him. We do it because he loves us. We do it because this is what the people need to change our nation for the better. And we are fighting YouTube to do it. We are fighting an entity that claims to be all about the people, and it just makes me sick. It makes me so sick that we have to fight YouTube and ABC and CBS and CNN and all of them. I'm waiting for the government to knock on my door. I'm waiting for the NSA or the FBI or somebody to show up and tell me that I'm a terrorist threat or that I've said something that is, treason to America or whatever. My wife told me, she said, whatever you do, please, God, don't get to the Snowden status. But here's the thing. I think if we keep preaching the truth, if we keep uncovering the lies of our government, if we keep pointing out how the military-industrial complex uses our money to make themselves rich and our blood to get it done, I think I will get hauled away. I think somebody will come take me. And when that happens, please use it against them. Right? That's got me worried at this point. That really has me worried. Not that I'm going to get taken away, but the whole concept of the fact that this is where we stand here with the lies. It's just abhorrent.
Unfortunately, John, you're not too far-fetched in what you're speaking about. When normal everyday citizens do like you and this engagement broadcasting or partake in activism, folks that stand against the pipeline are labeled as terrorists.
Yep.
Folks that stand for Flint, Michigan and demand change are terrorists.
Yep.
Folks that organized Occupy movements across this country were labeled terrorists.
Yep.
I mean, that's where we're at in this country, and we need to just really stand up and stand together and change
Absolutely.
this. And that's what Bernie's talking about. This isn't about him. This is about us, about the 99, and about these folks that have been working so hard to have a corporation once again strip them. So not only thank you to everybody for signing, but sharing that petition. Thank you guys very much.
Yeah. Very much appreciated signing it and sharing it. Thank you. It puts you guys at risk too, right? It really does. I want to show this overlay here. This is from the Declaration of Independence, folks. So the radicals that started our country, and they were radicals. They were people that believed that the monarchy the kings and queens, which were pretty much the deal at the time. You had a country, you had a king, you had a queen, they ran shit, and you had no choice. The radicals that started the United States of America, the crazy socialists, because they really were, because they wanted the people to have power. Our country was started by radical, pot-growing, beer-drinking, party-going socialists. And they wrote this when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism. It is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. It is our right, our job, our duty to throw off the establishment, to remove the establishment from power and return the power to the people. That is what we are doing this year in our government. That is what we are doing. And we're gonna move on from that into, this is a perfect segue into more of our government being corrupt. I want to remind everybody that our planet is dying. Our planet is dying. It has been dying for a long time. And reminder that Exxon knew that climate change was real. Exxon knew that it was damaging our environment beyond repair 40 years ago. Exxon knew it was a problem, and Exxon worked with our government and corporate media to hide this information, to misconstrue this information, to keep the public from understanding climate change and just how it was destroying our planet. And we have lived for 40 years with our government and companies like Exxon and corporate media lying to us while our planet dies. And we're going to take a look at some of the death and destruction caused by this effort. This, folks, is what's happening in Flint. Not only do we have racism, not only do we have corporate greed, but we have toxic water. We have toxic water from that racism and that corporate greed, from that criminal corruption within our government. Still not sure why Rick Snyder has not been hauled out of his office, beaten, and thrown into prison. So I'm going to show you something. Because our government has failed to act swiftly on this, and that's the wrong one. Our government has failed to act swiftly on this. I keep pulling up things. Here it is. Flint. We're going to listen to, I'm a big fan of Anonymous. Okay. Anonymous is an intelligent resistance. Anonymous is what we can do as the people with technology. We may not be able to storm the White House with weapons, and we need to do that quite yet, but we have groups like Anonymous, and I like what they're doing here, and we're going to listen to Anonymous's message about Flint and about the horrendous crap going on there. And this is what they have to say, and I will support what they do here. I want to see them bring to justice the criminals. The criminals. Rick Snyder first. You've murdered children, Rick. You've caused brain damage, you asshole. And you're not going to get out of this like all the other rich white people that run our government. You are not going to go scot-free. You're not going to end up as a correspondent on CNN like so many other criminals do. Oh, I'll just leave politics now that I fucked up a part of the nation. And once they've forgotten that I fucked up the part of the nation, they'll give me a job on corporate media. That's where all of the people go. Oliver North had a job on corporate media. Oliver North was the scapegoat for Ronnie, and he's working on corporate media. You should go look at the list of criminals for the state that are commentators on mainstream media. It's amazing. It's quite amazing. Let's see what Anonymous has to say about Flint.
Greetings, citizens of the world. We are Anonymous. For over a year now, the citizens of Flint, Michigan have been subjected to drinking tap water filled with lead and other poisons. Over 3,000 children residing in Flint have been diagnosed with lead poisoning and other contaminated water illnesses. This issue went unreported by the mainstream media for entirely too long. A resident of Flint, Michigan and activist by the name of City of Flint has worked for countless hours, weeks and years to bring awareness to the water crises in Flint. And now that Flint is in the media and people are aware, we must remind the city officials of Flint that we do not forget and we do not forgive. The crimes committed by Governor Snyder as well as other city officials will not go unpunished. The city of Flint deserved to be informed and made aware of the problem with the town drinking water. The fact that Governor Snyder stayed silent while the children of Flint were poisoned says a lot about his character. It is safe to assume that children may already be doomed to die due to this. It says a lot about how Snyder and those who answered to him on this matter feel about the citizens of Flint. It's clear to us that Governor Snyder needs to be reminded that he is a servant for the very same people he has poisoned and made sick. Or perhaps he never forgot. Perhaps corruption is at play here. In that case, he is now going to simply be shown the error of his evil ways. We feel that there currently exists enough evidence to arrest Governor Snyder for either voluntary or involuntary manslaughter, and that a full-scale investigation into the Flint water crisis and a criminal trial will yield the information that will send Governor Snyder to prison. We encourage the city of Flint to be vocal and demand that Governor Snyder face criminal charges. Anonymous will stand beside you. We will amplify your voice where the mainstream media will surely fail you, as it has in the past. We will also join you in calling bullshit on any spin that the corporate media is prepared to put on this, as they have on other past crises that affect the welfare of the common people in this country, most notably the poor and people of color. Governor Snyder and his cronies have brought pain, suffering, and possible death to the people of Flint. They have also clearly displayed contempt for the children of Flint. Certainly they have displayed no remorse or guilt. But it all stops now. Because what Governor Snyder will soon learn is that we do not forgive. We do not forget. The people responsible for this crisis will be held accountable. Every wrongdoing will be rectified. The city of Flint deserved better, Governor. Instead they got the murderer. Again, justice will arrive in the form of a pale mask. We are Legion. We are the citizens of Flint. Governor Snyder, did you really not expect us?
Okay. Let's get rid of the echo there. First off, what's going on here? First off, guys, Anonymous knows how to make an ending. That's awesome. Very dramatic. But they make a great point there. They're gonna do what they need to do. This is civil disobedience. This is how we react when our government fails to react, and that is what's going on here. And I want to just stop. I could talk about how great the Anonymous thing is, but Lou just dropped this new. Yes, it needs to be fact checked. We're going to fact check this article right here by Chrissy Williams, saying that it just came through from the Inquisitor.com that Flint residents are warned to pay toxic water bill or risk losing custody of their children. Now, I'm not sure how those two are tied together, but it could be. You're not paying your water bill. Social services could come by. You're already considered a poor. You're already in a lower income area. Flint, of course, is all of Flint is like that except for Governor Snyder and his cronies. They live fine, and everybody else in Flint doesn't. But here's the thing. Like, regardless of what's going on here, what should be settled is this. Hey, Flint government, who the fuck do you think you are charging anybody there for water? You're not, you don't need, you shouldn't be charging, there should be no water fucking bill right now because you are not providing water that is usable. You should be footing the bill for everybody's water. You should be back paying everybody's water for the last year because you can't charge them for water that's not drinkable, you pieces of shit. So if the water company is out there handing out bills, I want to bomb the shit out of that water company, folks. I want to bomb the shit out of them and find out who the hell they are. In social media, we need to say this. If they are charging people for their water bills, the bills for the last year for all of Flint should be wiped. How the fuck can you charge people for water you can't drink, you assholes? That is our government being corrupt.
Yeah, the whole water thing in Michigan has been going on for a while too. With I think it was with Detroit where they were going after the poor to pay their water bills and not going after big corporations who use a lot more water. But on a separate note, and Lou shared this article, so Lou, feel free to jump in. But it looks like it has a link to a tweet or a picture of a tweet in it anyway, where Erin Brockovich is. I guess the assumption is that if a home doesn't pay their water bill, the water can get turned off, and then therefore that house is tagged as not being habitable.
I'm scrolling down to that right now.
Not being safe for children. If you don't have adequate water in your home, I mean, I'm a father of 3, and this is actually legitimate. If people refuse to pay for the water, that obviously they can't drink. So why would you pay for it? They can shut you off because you didn't pay the bill, and then you are automatically, because you are shut off, and CPS and child services are just another government function in most states. If you're shut off from the water, you get put on the list of being shut off and sent off to CPS, where CPS could turn around, come to your house, say you don't have water to adequately make sure your children are hydrated or bathed or kept clean. This is not a safe space for them. And then the removal of those children from the home until you decide to pay for that poison to come back into your home.
That's ridiculous. That's a ridiculous loop there. My question is, Child Family Services, which is worse, not paying for the water or forcing your children to drink lead-infused water? Are you going to then go back retroactively and bust all of these parents saying, wow, look, you poisoned your kids with lead because you let them drink the water that you paid the bill for, that we made you pay the bill for? How fucked up can you be? The entire government of Flint needs to be removed. Removed from power. New people need to be put in place. The bills for these people need to be paid for by the government, by the federal government, and that money should come out of the military budget because there's fucking plenty of money there for it. That money should come out of Rick Snyder's ass. It should come out of his pocketbook. It should come out of every corrupt asshole in that government. I don't know why we can't shake those fuckers down, empty their bank accounts, and put it back into this government, put it back into that county, put it back into that town. And I know there was another article that came out that said it wasn't about the money. Snyder is making the claim, and when I said it was about the money, I meant he was just making money for himself, for his cronies, for his buddies. But Snyder made the claim that he was doing this to save Flint money, that the switch over from the Detroit water supply would save Flint money. And they pulled the analysis, they pulled all the documents that refuted his statement, clear and plain. It would actually have saved them money by staying where they were and putting a fucking additive in the water like they were supposed to, like responsible human beings. Rick Snyder, and I'm going to say this, and I'm going to base it off the Killer Mike song, Glad Reagan's Dead. I will be glad, Rick, when you are dead. Absolutely happy as fuck all when you are dead. Because you have ruined a town, and now you're trying to blame it on something else. People like you, how do you get in office? People like you usually end up in jail right away. I don't know how you ended up in office. And if you are protected somehow, if you get your Koch brother asshole buddies to protect you, I will happily cheer for street justice. You should be thrown in Rikers General Pop and left to the population. That's what should happen to you, Rick. You and all your people that have done this. This is just abhorrent and disgusting and an abuse of power. And this is why Anonymous has to step in, because the federal government is doing nothing. You know what's happening with the federal government right now? Obama just handed a bunch of power to a bunch of rich people in Detroit to let them start charter schools and take over the whole damn education process like these rich fuckers want to do. Thank you, Obama. Thank you.
Well, just this morning, they announced that an independent prosecutor in the AG's office will be looking into the issue in Flint. However, there are some talks of conflict of interest because that person or that group that's going to be looking into this also represents the governor in other matters.
Right.
So there's, if they do happen to find the governor or, some of the workers there responsible, people are questioning whether or not it's truly going to be independent and what's going to happen. So we'll have to keep an eye on that.
And there are also donors as well. The independent auditor, this independent investigator, has actually donated multiple times to Rick Snyder's campaign. So I mean, it's not very.
Not very independent.
Not very independent. And hey, let's call it what it is. These folks can sit here and refuse to pay for this poisoning, and they get their kids taken away. But Snyder poisons these kids, and he gets to hire 2 PR firms.
Right. Again, why isn't he being dragged out onto the street right now and taken care of with street justice? Why hasn't Obama called in the National Guard to pull out all of these disgusting... Why does Rick Snyder even get the opportunity? If he was black and he were on the street, he wouldn't get any opportunity. He'd just get shot. There would be no way to explain. There would be no this, that. He'd just be shot. I don't understand why he gets such protection. Is it because he's white? Is it because he's rich? Is it because he's already in the government? Is it because he's with the establishment? Is it because he's part of the Koch brothers? Obama, my question is to you, sir. Why are you protecting Rick Snyder? Because it sure seems like you are. And we're going to cut to this, folks, because this ought to piss you off even more. I just saw something come through about how Jeb Bush is praising Rick Snyder. This ties into the climate. This ties into the toxicity of what they're doing with our groundwater and our environment in Flint. And this is the Koch brothers and Rick Scott and Jeb Bush. That's a group of wonderful human beings right there. And they have been dumping millions of tons of toxic waste into the St. Johns River in Florida. And they've done this by basically owning the government down there and doing what they please. And that's what they do. I guarantee you, folks, I could find examples of this happening in every state, in probably every city, in every county across the United States. Your government being corrupt, dumping shit into rivers and waters. Okay? And most of this, by the way, is coming from Georgia Pacific, who I'm sure the Koch brothers own a lot of, paper mills. Right? And the waste that comes out, have you ever smelled the shit that comes out of a paper mill when it's done? You can smell a paper mill miles and miles and miles away. And the crap that they use to make paper is hugely toxic, and they dump this shit unfiltered, just right into the goddamn river. Nobody's doing anything about it. In the meantime, you're not allowed to have a garden in your front fucking yard in Florida. But Georgia Pacific can dump millions and millions of gallons of toxic bullshit into the St. Johns River because it helps the Koch brothers. It helps Rick Scott. It helps Jeb Bush. Jeb! Retard.
I want to be clear. We are not advocating violence against anyone. We're not advocating violence against Governor Rick Snyder.
Nope.
What we would like is justice for those folks in Flint, in Detroit, and everywhere, and through the actual legal grounds. And I hope, and I do hope that that's going to happen eventually. Is that and the only thing I could say is if it doesn't happen, there's going to be a lot of unhappy people in Michigan, especially with all the attention that has been going that way. But it's up to us to demand that, like Bernie says, he should resign.
Well, yeah, he should resign, which is the least he should do. And you're right, Janine. I am not promoting violence. I am angry, and I am livid, and I am enraged, and I feel like I want to be violent, but I'm trying. We are trying so hard right now to just get the American public, all of the American public, to be as angry, to be as passionate about this, to wake the fuck up and realize what the hell is going on in your country, folks. And we don't, the justice process is not functioning. It doesn't work for the rich like it works for the poor. It doesn't work for white like it works for black. It doesn't work. And so I promote groups like Anonymous. What they do is non-violent attack. They use technology. I talk about the citizens of Flint enacting citizens arrest and dragging Rick Snyder out. I do think that should happen. Do I think that's violent? No, I think that's justice. Him being put in a jail cell in General Pop and Rikers, that's not violent. It could get violent, but that's not my problem or anybody else's. That's just what Rikers is, and that's our system. And he should be subject to that system equally, just like every other person is subject to that system. There should not be a club fed for rich white assholes and then General Pop for everybody else. So my suggestions, no matter how violent they sound, are simply the system that already exists today for the people of America, for the 99%. We have quite a violent justice system that can toss you in a place where you just end up dead or a better criminal. And I guess that if my guess is if you threw Rick Snyder into General Pop at Rikers, he wouldn't last as a criminal very long. That's just my guess. That's not advocating violence. That's promoting justice. So, and that's me. That's my personal opinion, guys. Remember that everything that I say that comes out of my mouth on this show is representative of me. This is a volunteer group. We're not even a real entity. So my words are my own. And I don't have to say that the brand, I'm not defending our brand. Bernie 2016 TV is a group of people that have their own opinions and voices. And what I say coming out of my mouth represents me alone. It is not representative of a brand because we are just people here. All right? So let's make sure that's very clear.
And on that, John, I just want to throw out there to everybody that Iceland had a massive meltdown bank-wise, and they actually also did something we didn't do. The citizens there took those bankers, and literally, and there's video after video that you can look up and watch, they took those bankers out of their homes and out of their offices, and they put them in dumpsters. And they literally rolled those dumpsters down the street to the police stations, and they delivered the trash to where it belongs. Rick Snyder and the people that believe that poisoning children is an okay thing in this country deserve to be delivered to where they belong, jail cells, period, point blank. The American public needs to wake up to the fact that we do have that power.
That's a great way to say it. Think about that, folks. Think about that. The people in Iceland were able to do that. That's how they dealt with it. I mean, and they've done this with other things. Iceland doesn't stand for shit, and Iceland's got a lot of stuff going on. They were the country that invented the thermal oxidizer that can liquefy and take care of all of the bio waste. There are so many countries around the world, folks, that function so much better than ours. But our media and our corrupt government have spent billions of dollars to make sure we're unaware of that, or that we're scared of being that. We think socialism is communism, and communism is horrid, and we're so fucked up. We're so misinformed. We were talking about Flint and the horrific nature of Flint, and that, and I see a lot of people talking about violence, a lot of people talking about, yeah, we need to go to Iceland on steroids, cynical. Yeah. Yes, yeah, okay. That's right. Take a look at this. This will piss you off. So we went from Flint. We've talked about the Koch brothers, Rick Scott, and Jeb dumping garbage into one river. I'm sure it's happening all over Florida, folks. And this is nothing new. This is nothing new. We have the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. That's what they call this, the Great Pacific Garbage Patch that floats between California and Hawaii. Is even bigger than scientists believe. This is an article from August of 2015. About twice the size of Texas. We were surrounded by an endless layer of garbage, a marine biologist who works for the ocean cleanup. I mean, this is That's disgusting. That's how much garbage we, the people, have allowed our government through deregulation to put into our oceans. Plastic and garbage. And that's the other article I'm going to pull up here. Here it is. By 2050, our oceans will hold more plastic than fish. Use of plastic has increased 20-fold in the past half century. Production of the ubiquitous material is expected to double again in the next 20 years and nearly quadruple over the next 50. Why are we still making so much plastic? Because nobody's talking about this. Nobody's talking about the fact that our oceans are so full of plastic, it's ridiculous. And nearly a third of all plastic packaging escapes collection systems. 8 million tons of plastics end up entering our oceans each year. 8 million tons. What do you think happens with it, folks? Plastic does not dissolve or biodegrade in the ocean at all. The only way a plastic can biodegrade, and it doesn't actually biodegrade, the only way a plastic can be broken down at all is in an anaerobic toxic mixture in a landfill or burned properly in a thermal oxidizer. The ocean is just a giant garbage bin for us. You know, ocean liners have been allowed to dump their garbage once they get out past a 20-mile line outside of any coastline. Some reason countries are like, what the fuck? It's just, you know, ocean liner with tons and tons and tons of garbage. They just dump it straight. Now, there are some ocean liners today, because they're being cautious about it, and they're holding their garbage and then dropping it off when they get to port. And then it just goes to a landfill that way. But this is sad. And Janine, you had some other statement about this from a show or some people that were castaways or something?
Oh, no, I was talking with a friend, and I actually saw an article earlier that said something like 90% of seagulls have plastic in their stomachs. But it reminded me of something a friend was telling me about some people that were lost at sea and were trying to survive, and anytime a seagull would come near them, that's actually what they were eating. And but they had to throw a lot of them away because their stomachs were just full of plastic. So, I don't have any of the details on that. So if anyone in the chat room knows about that story, feel free to share it.
Well, yeah, but the bottom line is there that most of the seagulls had stomachs full of plastic. I don't think we really understand the damage, the overall damage we have caused this ecosystem, because the thing we don't understand and that environmentalists get, but that mainstream media won't explain or educate the public on, is that just like a human being, just like how radiation has an incubation period, what we've done to the environment, the full effect of that, we are only just beginning to see. We have not even seen what damage we have caused our oceans, or how this damage will affect the ocean for the next 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. People are so, our government is so uneducated. Our government is so blocked and tunnel visioned and so ignorant. When you affect the environment, you dump tons of plastic into the environment for decades. What is it? It's only going to have an effect for 1 day, 2 days, 10 days, then it's going to disappear and be magically fine? That plastic's never going anywhere, folks. How will a giant Texas-sized island of bullshit out in the middle of the Pacific affect ocean life for the next 50 years? Who knows? How will the 400-plus dead pools that are growing exponentially around the globe, how will those affect ocean life over the next 10 years?
Well,
how will the warming affect it? Yes, Janine?
I was just going to say, it comes down to money.
Yep.
Plastics are made from natural gas and byproducts of petroleum.
Yes, there you go. Oil industry. Plastics are part of the fossil fuel industry, as Janine has just perfectly stated. That's why we make more plastics now.
Yeah. Could we be using other materials?
Yes.
Absolutely. But we use plastic because it makes people money.
You guys seen those containers? They were in California for a while, and I've seen some of them out here in Oregon. They have containers that are made of corn oil or corn starch, basically corn plastic, that is biodegradable. but it's more expensive to make. Now, I've seen these things, but why would you bother making that? Screw the environment. I can make these for 3 cents less, right? Let's take a few pennies over the environment. We're not even going to have a planet to live on. We're going to have a plastic-ridden, toxic pool, overheated, with not enough water. There won't be any fish supplies. And that, when you, I don't think everybody understands, when our fish stocks are depleted, when our ocean no longer supports enough life to support itself, that ocean will deplete. When you screw up the ecosystem in the ocean, the whole thing is going to collapse. And when it collapses, it's going to cause a cascade across our entire environment. We have no idea what that will do to us. But if you think the Walking Dead scenario is bad, we ain't seen nothing yet, folks. Imagine all that many zombies, but it's just people starving with disease, unable to get good drinking water or eat any food, screaming at each other, fighting with each other to survive.
Like
We already
Interstellar.
have- What? Say that?
Like the movie Interstellar. It reminds me of that.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Except it's not science fiction, folks. We've made it happen. We've made it happen. It's happening right now. Flint, Michigan is an example of that. It's that, you know.
Porter Ranch, California is an example of that. I
There
mean,
you go.
lest we forget, we're killing our water, we're killing our land,
Yep.
and we're killing our air all at the same time. The planet's dying. Yes, John, you're right. Yes, the planet's dying. The planet was going to die on its own. But us as humans and our inaction, we are speeding up that death process.
Yep.
Over
It's,
what? Money. It's that simple. And Lord knows it's not coming here. Is it coming to you, John? Because I don't think many of us are seeing those profits to kill this planet.
No, because the money gets spent on war, Lou. Nobody, that money gets reinvested by the rich into the rich. The tax havens allows them to take all that money, and you realize how many trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars sit in offshore accounts that should have been reinvested into this economy. That should have been part of the taxes of this government. It's disgusting. Remember, guys, Exxon knew 40 years ago that they were destroying the planet with fossil fuels. We're making plastics 40 years ago. We were making plastics a long, long time ago, thanks to Dow Jones, Dow Chemical, not Dow Jones. But this has been going on for a long, 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 long time, folks. It's nothing new, which is a great segue. This is a great segue. I want to say hi to the audience real quick. Hey, everybody. Jeanette, Hoban, Nielsen, what are you saying, Az? I love your passion. One of the major questions is Americans. Let me scroll back up here. Other nations. Well, yeah. So what Jeanette is asking here is one of the major questions is: are Americans and other nations of the earth, particularly Western civilization, willing to make the changes, willing to make the effort? Yes. I don't think it's a question of the people. I think the people have been eager to make the changes for decades. I think the people, once they know, look, climate change is our D-Day, folks. It is a global D-Day. And I don't know how many of you are history buffs or have any idea what it took to organize, to make D-Day happen. And the unlikelihood of D-Day succeeding. The chances weren't good. It was a long shot. It was a crazy-ass fucking plan. It was orchestrated to the hilt. It was massive. In comparison, D-Day was 10 times more massive in terms of organization than going to the moon. Going to the moon we did on 16K in less than 10 years based on a mandate from one man who said, we shall go to the moon and do the other things because that's what we do as Americans, and that's not his quote. But he said, we're going to go to the moon, and we said, yes, we're going to go to the moon, and we rose together as a nation and we did it. And before that, with D-Day, we said, shit, we have got to stop this war, and there's a problem here. We've got a fascist government. We've got Nazi Germany taking over everything. And we said, we have to how are we going to invade Europe? We had no idea how we were going to invade Europe. Germany had the shores of France, England locked up, big guns and battlements, and we said, we have to go balls out. We have a plan. We have to save this earth. D-Day was the plan for America to help save the earth, because had we not gone in, had that plan not been successful, there's a very good chance that we'd all be speaking German, that we'd all be going Sieg Heil, that we'd all be, well, I probably wouldn't even be alive. A lot of us wouldn't even be alive, because there'd be millions upon millions of Jews that would have been murdered, more than already were murdered, if Hitler had won. So we had a D-Day in the 40s. We had another D-Day with a space race in the 60s. Today is our actual this is the last one, folks. This is it. It's D-Day for the planet. We either organize our shit as people globally, and remember, we're behind. All the other nations around the world, generally, the big ones that can actually take care of their shit, socialist nations, mostly socialist nations, okay, they're on it. Germany's ahead of the game. France is ahead of the game. They're on it. Right? I'm not saying they're perfect. I'm not saying they're beautiful examples, but they are much farther ahead, and they have much more progressive programs than we have. Every program that's been instituted, that's been suggested by the United States, has been shit. Not going to do anything. This is our D-Day. We have to fix the planet. We are totally capable of doing it. We have the money to do it. Shit, we liquidate Exxon. We got all sorts of money to do it. Cut the military budget in half. We got all sorts of money to do it. Mobilize our military to do it. They're not doing anything right now. They're waiting for another war. Why don't we have them rebuild the nation instead?
So I believe that quote that you were talking of before was the famous John F. Kennedy quote. We do these things not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that challenge is one that we are willing to accept, one that we are unwilling to postpone. And we have to take it upon ourselves to do the things that are hard. And again, getting back to Bernie, that's definitely something that he's trying to do, unlike the other candidate there who seems to be the candidate of no, we can't.
Right. Yeah. No, we can't do 15. We can do 12. Yeah, we can't really go after Wall Street. We can ask them to stop. Yeah. That brings us into talking about the next thing, which is reparations, which have become a hot topic because of, and Lou, I want you to pronounce the guy's name. Who wrote the article on the Atlantic?
Ta-Nehisi Coates.
There you go, Ta-Nehisi Coates. I think that's the one we're talking about. That's so reparations. This is the last piece we're going to talk about, and it's because the mudslinging has happened. The mudslinging started with the other candidate's campaign throwing mud at Bernie Sanders, and in some ridiculous ways, just absolutely ridiculous ways. We had David Brock, national douchebag, who was claiming for some reason that Bernie just didn't have the minority vote, didn't understand that Black Lives Matter. There was some quote by him that said it didn't get that Black Lives Matter, and I was like, I'm sorry. Do you recall what happened at the beginning of Bernie's campaign? I do. We were broadcasting it. Netroots Nation. We watched Black Lives Matter. Heckle him. Get up there, and he gave them the stage. Here. What can I do? Please, take my mic. Please, absolutely. I get it. No other candidate did that. I don't even know that Hillary has spoken to Black Lives Matter. She's afraid of them. So for this guy, David Brock, to claim that Bernie's not into reparations or whatever was going on, David Brock made some bullshit statement, and then this Tassini guy came out and with his article in the Atlantic, and I'm going to show this article in the Atlantic, the case for reparations, and apparently in it, he makes some statement that Hillary would be better in this regard and Bernie's not. He's basically a Hillary supporter here when it comes to reparations. What are we talking about? We're talking about reparations for African Americans. We're talking about reparations to all of the cultures that white bread, rich ass Americans have shit on for our history. Okay? So I suppose if you want, you could start with Native Americans because they were the first. But if you start with the formation of our countries, you start with the formation of the United States of America, it's been African Americans, Native Americans, Spanish Americans, all of them, right? H.A. Goodman writes an article about it, and he says the same thing I say. As far as reparations are concerned, there is no need for me to read this article on the case for reparations. I am well aware that this government owes serious reparations to African Americans and Native Americans, and I would ask that they just pick the price. That's how I feel about it. You guys tell us what you want, because whatever it is, it's not enough. Whatever it is, it will never, ever, ever equal what we have done to you. I can't apologize enough. I can't feel ashamed enough. I can't do enough. The only thing I can do is promise you that I won't die before I see this country something respectable. This country needs to be something respectable, and it's not. And I am ashamed. I am ashamed of our broken promises. I am ashamed of our bullshit. You know, the civil rights movement, let's go back 100 years. The Civil War, we still haven't fixed this, folks. We still have a major, major problem with racism in this country. We still have a major, major problem with treating those who we don't think are like us, pretty white and rich, the same. And I say we as a collective, because these actions come out of our government. These actions come out of people in power. But we, the people, are the ones that should be setting the record straight. We, the people, are the ones that have the power. We have been complacent, and we owe all the other people an apology, because we have let racists and douchebags take over our nation. But to claim that Bernie Sanders is not for reparations, to claim that Bernie Sanders does not understand the racial issues in this country, I'm sorry, that's just bullshit. I'm going to call bullshit on that article, okay? And we're going to look at this article by H.A. Goodman. H.A. Goodman is a friend of ours. At least we chat with him every once in a while in Twitter. He won't come on the show. I don't know why he won't come on our show, but it'll come on everybody else's show. But that's okay. We look at his articles. Hillary Clinton isn't only against reparations. She accepted money from prison lobbyists. So, Tassini, I would hope that you are aware of this. I mean, how can you say that Hillary would be in favor of reparations as opposed to Bernie or whatever that said? How can this woman, how can you even be for reparations and take money from the prison lobby? I'm sorry, those are incongruent, folks. The prison lobby puts away more minorities than I mean, that's what it is. It's let's make money off the poor. Let's make money off minorities. Send them to prison, teach them to be better criminals, kick them back out, let them get busted again, put them back into prison. We make a whole bunch of money. Hillary, really quickly, once she realized that the country wasn't going to fly with her taking money from prison lobbyists, said, I'm going to stop doing that. And then months and months and months and months and months later, she actually stopped. But from what this article says, she actually had about $200,000 given to her by a prison lobby. And the other thing that H.A. brings up in this that I found very cool is her, well, I should say cool. That's not the right word to use. It's actually kind of scary. She ran an ad against Obama in 2008, and it was called 3 a.m., and it became quite controversial because, well, it can definitely be taken as racist. No one understands why she showed what she showed in this video, why she did what she did. But it sure seemed like it was coming across as saying, do you really want a black guy in office when you could have this rich white woman who you know you can trust? I think that's kind of the message she was pushing out here. I want you guys to watch this and tell me what you think.
It's 3 a.m. and your children are safe and asleep. But there's a phone in the White House and it's ringing. Something's happening in the world. Your vote will decide who answers that call. Whether it's someone who already knows the world's leaders, knows the military, someone tested and ready to lead in a dangerous world. It's 3 a.m. and your children are safe and asleep. Who do you want answering the phone?
I'm Hillary Clinton, and I approve this message.
I bet you do, Hill. So the other thing about this is you can bet this wasn't run in Detroit. This wasn't run in the the South. This was run where all the white wasps live. This was run prime time against, to inform the big white rich audience that they need to be scared. So when people look at Hillary's quickly changing record on many things and want to claim that she's standing up for diversity, she's standing up for African Americans, she's standing up for whatever it is, I say no. What she is a politician who's going to change her mind as she sees fit, as she needs to say whatever the hell she needs to say to win the election so that she could then do what she pleases. And we have seen this over and over and over again.
If I may jump in.
Yes, please, please.
Sorry,
Please.
this is kind of long time running joke with the Clinton campaign and with the Clinton team. I'm not going to talk directly bad about them, but I find it kind of ironic that the Clinton presidency, the original one, Bill's, brought two things to the table to minority and poor communities. What it brought was the Personal Responsibility and Work Opportunity Act, and it also brought the Violent Crime Control and Law Enforcement Act. Now, what those two things actually did, we'll start with the Violent Crime Control and Law Enforcement Act, mandatory minimums, upping the drug war, getting rid of education and educational opportunities for people in prison so that they can come out and actually have a little a better chance at doing something constructive, reform, not just punishment. That was all gone in 1994. Bill Clinton, Hillary, of course, supported it, talking about super predators and thugs with no conscience, as she's talking about children. At the same time that you're locking the breadwinners up in a majority of homes, you also throw out what's really called the Welfare Responsibility Act, that you deducted and cut almost 6 million people off the social safety net rolls at the same time that you're locking up good chunks of the community at the same time. This, when we're talking about reparations and we're talking about, how this fallacy of a thought that somehow the Clintons actually care about the minority and the poor communities, well, their history and what they have passed and what they have wanted speaks for itself. And their history is basically a new institution of Jim Crow in America.
Absolutely. Speaking to that, H.A. Goodman writes here in some of his history on this article, the federal and state prison populations rose more under former President Bill Clinton than under any other president, according to a report from Criminal Justice Institute to be released today. In fact, the analysis of U.S. Justice Department statistics by the left-leaning Justice Policy Institute, a project of San Francisco-based Justice Center, found that more federal inmates were added to prisons under Clinton than under Presidents Bush, Reagan combined. That's a lot of people put to prison, folks, and you can bet they're not rich white people in there. They're not rich white folks. They're black folks. They're Indian folks. They're Asian. They're yellow. They're purple. They're green. But they're certainly not 1%. They're certainly not rich. They're certainly not white. I gotta say something right now. We're gonna end here quick because I know we're at 10:18. We're gonna go off. But I am embarrassed because I really was ignorant about the level of corruption that Clinton had done. I was a big Clinton fan back then because when Clinton left and Bush came in, I went, oh God, Bush is horrific. Bush was horrible. Clinton, in comparison, was great. And that's the thing we all have to realize here. Clinton, old establishment Bill, in comparison to establishment Bush, was great. And that's a sad statement to make. That's a scary statement to make. We didn't have any better than that. We had establishment Bill, we had establishment Bush, and now we have establishment Hill, or establishment, I don't even know what they're going to put on the Republican side of the fence. It's not a human being at this point, but we don't want either of these. I don't want establishment or establishment. I want Bernie Sanders, because it's time to take the establishment down, to stop the lies and bullshit, and put somebody in office who actually gives a shit about all of us as people, not some of us as voters. And that is the big difference here, folks. That is the real big difference. I'm going to play one more thing, then we're going to get out of here. This ought to give you some chills. This is Hillary on The Intercept. This guy just hits her up really quick and asks her if she would be willing to release, I think it was speeches to Goldman Sachs. Just listen to her laugh.
Sorry.
I'm so happy you're part of this.
Hi, Secretary Clinton. Will you release a transcript of your paid speeches to Goldman Sachs? No, there's a lot of controversy over the speeches. Secretary.
So she doesn't say anything else. She just laughs. Secretary Clinton, would you be willing to release the transcripts of your speeches to Goldman Sachs? Nope. Fuck you. Nope. You don't want to read what I told them. You don't want to read how rich I told them they were going to be. All right, guys. What else do we want to say? Anything else? Janine? Lou, we got to talk about what's going on tonight, tomorrow. I know there's other events.
Yeah, just a reminder about our meta of the
Yes.
forum tonight. Begins at 8 p.m. Eastern, and that should be a lot of fun. And yeah, I mean, we've got some other events in the works. Bernie is traveling around Iowa, and we're hoping to catch him at an upcoming event.
There
And
you go.
actually, he's going to what is it? Is it Minnesota?
Yes, yes. I actually have those up here. Here we go. So he's going to be Future to Believe in rally at St. Paul. It's going to be in St. Paul and Duluth, Minnesota, on the 26th, tomorrow. I don't know what we're covering of this, Janine, or if we have anything locked in yet, but he will be at both these places tomorrow. There's that one, and there's Duluth. Okay. All this is on BernieSanders.com, folks. And remember, we have the apps of the revolution. So that's just BernieSanders.com. You've got the BernieSanders.com/phone bank. Right? And that's just Ustream, that's Biff. FeelTheBurn.org flyer kit. FeelTheBurn.org/flyer kit if you want to make some flyers, crank those out for the revolution. And I want to show you a few fun things here. Here's this was a meme that was posted. I don't know where this came from, but I thought this was cute. I am phone banking for Bernie. There's all sorts of memes going around. You don't see this stuff being created for Hillary either, not to this extent, folks. Here's Daniel Holbrecht did this one for us. This is great. He's been cranking out some memes for us, and we'll be pushing this out on Twitter later today. That's great. And here's one from Nick Hanauer. Nick, if you're around, I'd really like to talk to you. I'd really like to get in touch with you. I think we could do a lot together. I like your mind here. Republicans aren't against a $15 minimum wage because they fear it will actually kill jobs. They are terrified because they know it won't. And that will expose Republican economics for what it is. Bullshit. I actually don't think most people believe in Republican economics anymore. I think we're all well aware it's bullshit. But there are people on the payroll that would like to see it stay that way. They don't care. They want to see it stay that way.
Do we have time for a quick press release?
Yeah, what's going on? What's the press release?
So we'll talk about this later. Maybe we can have someone talk about it later on tonight. Sanders blasts corporate deserters. U.S. Senator Bernie Sanders on Monday denounced corporate deserters after Johnson Controls and Tyco International announced the plan to merge the manufacturing giants in the latest example of a U.S.-based company acquiring a foreign firm to avoid paying U.S. taxes. So the potential Johnson-Tyco merger would be a disaster for American taxpayers. Profitable companies that have received corporate welfare from American taxpayers should not be allowed to renounce their U.S. citizenship to avoid paying U.S. taxes. These corporate inversions must stop. Sanders last year introduced a Corporate Tax Dodging Prevention Act, something you won't hear on corporate media. It would end the inversion tax scam by treating corporations as American corporations for tax purposes when it is still majority owned in the United States. So that's something we can maybe talk about later on tonight. But I'm glad to see Bernie coming out against this merger, and
Yep.
you know, he's got our best interests at heart. So
You won't see anybody else going after it because they stand to lose constituents, right, in the business world if they were to do that. Hillary certainly can't take a stand against something like this. So join us tonight for the forum. We will have Dr. Franz Whitfield on with us beforehand and afterwards. He is a surrogate for the Sanders campaign out of Waterloo, Iowa, and he will be at the actual debate forum tonight. We will be joined also by Scott Galindez, our road warrior, who will be down there at the event. And then we have Duluth and whatever's going on at St. Paul tomorrow. I'm not sure what we're covering of that yet. But remember, folks, please blast social media. Social media is our main tool. This is how we get the news out, the real news out. Help us with that MoveOn.org petition. That's free.bernie2016.tv. And we'll see you tonight. Remember, the goal is to eventually get YouTube to say something to us. Pay attention. Feel the burn, everybody. This is about Bernie. We are Bernie. And I can't thank you all enough for being here and helping support this news. Remember, we're just one independent news source. There are lots all over the place. I use some of their articles today, and I try to reference as much independent news as we want. But you're going to get better truth. You're going to get reality out of the independent news. You're only going to get crap out of MSM. Bernie himself makes that very clear. I think we're going to close with I know we've all heard it a lot. I don't care. I don't have anything else loaded, and I want to run it because I really got an ill taste in my mouth from watching that 3 a.m. Ad from Hillary. So we're going to run the America ad by Bernie because this is what political ads should be. There's no mudslinging. There's no bullshit. There's no fear and intimidation tactic being used here. This is the kind of thing that inspires. This is what makes me want to change my country with Bernie Sanders. And so I hope we can all do that together. Thank you all for joining me today. We will see you tomorrow. Same time, same place for this stuff. Bye.
Let us be lovers, we'll marry our fortunes together. I've got some real estate here in my bank, counting the cars on the New Jersey Turnpike. They've all come to look for America. All come to look for America. All come to look
I'm Bernie Sanders, and I approve this message.
You